I'll start the stream up.
Is this coming through my mic? Do you hear me clear when I hold it closer?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly fine.
Just want to make sure the audio is good. Okay.
All right, perfect. Yeah, let me just go ahead. Streams up. So.
Mike, do you hear me clear when I hold it closer?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it sounds clearer when you hold it closer, but it doesn't sound bad when you have it far away either.
Okay.
So, let me go ahead. It just went live, so let me go ahead and find a link to share to people real quick. Yep, there it is. Cool. So let me go ahead. Sweet, man. Dude, I don't know about you, man. This was the craziest trade deadline in a long time.
Yeah, usually over the last couple of years, it's been kind of a dud, but
yeah,
the James Harden and the Ben Simmons thing actually happened. That took me by storm. I didn't think it was going to happen, to be honest.
Oh yeah, like it was. Yeah, I thought there was like a 30% chance of that trade going down.
Yeah.
So once it did, my mind was blown.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's like a rare. I didn't expect that trade to actually like do anything good for any side there. But like I think like that was the best case scenario for a Ben Simmons trade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I said, he having that opportunity to play basketball. Like I said, it helps both sides. Obviously, getting a star like Harden in return, only makes the Sixers even better. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but also, I mean, for the Brooklyn Nets, like if you're gonna lose James Harden anyway because of the fact that he's gonna end up going to Philadelphia and in the off season anyway. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But I mean, still kind of mind boggled that they blew that that entire thing. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. I guess the poke will do that to you, man.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. So there was the Marvin Bagley deal happened. Mm-hmm. The Jeremy Grant deal didn't happen. We'll maybe wait and see if more people roll in here, but if not, this is always something people can go back and watch too. So bro, seriously, thank you so much for being here, and again, thank you for doing this. EverythingKing, one of the OGs on YouTube, one of the OGs in Detroit sports. I mean, people are way more likely to know who you are than I am if they're going to be tuning in. But if you, what would you tell people about yourself if they didn't know a whole lot about you, or if they want to know about your content?
Like I said, if you want something authentic from a passionate, Pistons and also Lions fan, like I said, to just check me out. Give me an opportunity to really talk some real talk to people, and give my opinions, and like I said, I just try to be as authentic as possible when I put my tape down, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's awesome. Yeah, listen, man, I think there's a lot of people out there that talk about sports that aren't always being real with you, that are always just trying, sometimes they'll just say something just to get the clicks and just to get people's attention. So, I mean, just to see a guy like you that, I've known you for a little bit now, and I met you at a Pistons game, and who you are in person is exactly who you are on camera, man. And, that, at the end of the day, when that's the kind of person you are, and that's the kind of vibes you give out, I mean, that's just, that's what it's all about, man. So, dude, thank you so much for being here. We have a lot to discuss because a lot happened today, man. Yes, oh my gosh. So first, let's start with our team, with our Pistons, because for those that might not have paid attention, we got the former number 2 overall pick, Marvin Bagley III, in a 4-team deal. By the way, shout out to the Kings finally getting Dante DiVincenzo. What a full circle moment, right?
Right.
Yeah, it took them 2 years, but it finally happened. Good for them.
Yeah. It's just been weird, this trade deadline, man. It's a lot of guys reuniting with teams too that I've seen earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. What as a Pistons fan, what were your thoughts when the trade went through, and what's your opinion on Marvin Bagley in Detroit? Do you think it's a good fit? Do you like the move? What are your thoughts on it?
When the move happened, I definitely got excited because instantly I started to think about the point guards we have on our team.
Yeah.
We have 2 pick and roll point guards that sorely needed somebody to be a roller, to be a lob threat, open up the offense a lot more, to where these guys can't commit to our guards and keep them from getting to the basket as much. So, when you look at Bagley, 22 years old, just to me, not in the right situation. Sacramento it's Sacramento. So, bringing him here, a breath of fresh air, new scenery, new opportunity, with also a lot of young players around him, is just going to create a great, situation for him where he can go out there and flourish. Because, like I say, he most likely is going to start out with the second unit. You got, you have 2 unselfish guards on this team, and Killian Hayes, Cade Cunningham. So, he'll be able to roll to the basket, get his shots, pick his spots. It should work out beautifully. It looks great. So, once we get an opportunity to see him, hopefully he's here as soon as tomorrow, since they fully, announced it on Twitter a while ago. So hopefully he can get here as soon as possible, man, and we can get some new energy in the building and make things fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm actually going to the game tomorrow, and I was planning on going before this trade went down, so I'm pretty excited. So I'm hoping he's there tomorrow, man. Maybe, who knows, I can snag a picture with him or something, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm absolutely right there with you. I mean, first of all, the fact that we gave up as little as we did, because of the fact that, if you don't know the deal, we gave up 2 second-round picks, and then we also gave up Josh Jackson and Trey Lyles, which, when we signed Trey Lyles, I don't know about you, I saw him as just like a end of the rotation guy, someone that was going to come in and help with, that was just going to help and fill minutes whenever needed. I didn't realize he was going to be as important to our team as he was, because he pretty much held down the fort for our big man situation for quite a bit. But also, Josh Jackson, when we brought him in, he was brought in as a reclamation project at the lowest part of his career. And to see him to a point where now we can use that and flip it to get an even better asset, right? And Marvin Bagley, to your point, who hasn't really gotten a fair shot 100%, because when you do play in Sacramento, and this isn't a knock to Sacramento, but it kind of is a knock to Sacramento. They're not known for developing players. That's just the way it is. And so a guy like Marvin Bagley, who struggled there, who clearly did not get along with the Kings brass, and they were not eye to eye on a lot of things, I think him coming to Detroit is a really good thing for him. And I also think that he should probably be starting off the bench as well. I think Beef Stew is going to have a little more pressure now with him in the lineup. I think that's going to cause some competition. And listen, it's our first 6'11" guy we have on the roster, like a true 7-footer. So we are in dire need of size. So he fills a need both in the interim, but I think in the long term as well. It's easy to see, because there's 2 things that are great for great playmakers, right? To your point, it's not just guys who can shoot, but it's guys who can run to the rim and you can lob it too, right? We don't have that. So to have that for Cade Cunningham, for even for a guy like Killian Hayes, who his best pick and roll partner was Mason Plumlee last year. So now to have an actual pick and roll partner for both of those guys, I think is going to be something that's going to make a big difference. And I just think about what it would be like having a top 3 guy like Chet Holmgren or Jabari Smith Jr. and his backup is Marvin Bagley III.
Right. Like I said, Troy Weaver is so sneaky good, man. Yeah. He's putting this thing that, and you said a thing about Sacramento where they don't develop players, man. And that's been something that, I've had a problem with the Pistons for so long. But to see Troy Weaver walk in the door and, start this process, and, he's not rushing things. He's taking his time. He wants these guys to develop. It's just refreshing.
Yeah.
We're going to be so young, and, he's trying to build something that's going to last over time.
Yeah. So,
he's not rushing, doing anything drastic like, Stan Van Gundy did in the past, some of these guys that's been in here. So, it's definitely going to be something fun to watch all these guys grow together. We didn't pull the trigger and do nothing over the top during this trade deadline, and I really appreciate that about him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's not just Troy Weaver too. I mean, like, say what you will about Dwayne Casey, you can question some of his coaching decisions, you can question some of that in-game stuff, but I think what you can't question is his pedigree with teaching and helping developing talent too. So not just having that in the front office, but the fact that there's like unity from ownership down, and there's a consistent culture that's being built, and like a mission, and something that we're actually striving for, is something that we haven't had in a long time. I mean, like, Stan Van Gundy, he used to pull Luke Kennard out of a game if he got a reach-in foul he didn't like. You know what I mean? Like Stan Van Gundy just didn't let guys develop. So to have a system where it's the exact opposite, and we have guys that are patient with these young players, I think is a big thing. And I think, what do you think of Marvin Bagley's ceiling? Do you think he can come in? Do you think he's someone that can fit with us long term, or do you think this is a guy that like maybe will help us for a little bit, but might not have much of a career in front of him?
I really haven't had enough time to watch a lot of film, but for what I have watched, he has all the tools.
Yeah.
He has all the tools to be that. And like I said, with him being, super young, man, it's like I said, it's the, sky's the limit. It depends on his work ethic. The Pistons bring him along properly. He can, growing with the guys that he has around him. He has an opportunity to really be that player that, Sacramento thought he was when they drafted him. So he still got time. I always say, you look at some of the greats over their career, some of the greats that we know, especially us Pistons fans, it took years for them to get to where they were. So sometimes it just doesn't happen right away. Sometimes the situation is not great. Yeah. So he has an opportunity. I truly do believe he can get to where, people believed that he could be. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people forget a guy like Chauncey Billups was even considered a draft bust at one point in his career. And I'm not calling this guy Chauncey Billups. It's apples to oranges. I mean, this guy hasn't even gotten into Detroit yet. Let's see what he does, right? But hey, there is the framework there. And I love the fact that like, just like what you said about how sneaky good he is, right? Like with Troy Weaver, like it is like he is finding those diamonds in the rough. You know what I'm saying? And I just absolutely love that. And, even to take assets that we had and that we turned into better assets to flip it into even better, it almost feels like we're going to a pawn shop with a lollipop and walking out with a Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? Like,
John, like I said, when you look at some of the players he's brung over, gave him opportunity, like I said, when they were at the bottom of their career. You get those guys over, give them playing time, let them, showcase themselves, and you're in a situation now where you can send some of those players away to acquire something even better.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if he's so sneaky good, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like I said, I've never in my Pistons fandom ever seen us with a GM like we have right now. This guy he knows what he's doing. He really knows what he's doing. He thinks ahead. That's one of the biggest things.
Yeah. Yeah. And he even made Tom Gores buy into a vision too. I'm not sure if you saw this, but there was an interview. I forgot when this was, but a couple years ago, like a few months ago or last year, Tom Gores talked about the fact that, I remember he'd say, we'll never tank. We're always going to be pushing for the playoffs. And now to be a team that was dedicated to pushing to get the number one pick and is taking the time to strip back and slow it down and develop, I think to have that and not only to understand that vision of like, okay, yeah, this is the right way to go about this, but also to have that commitment not only from the front office, but to have the front office sell that to ownership and realize this is the way that you win in this league, is acquiring talent, developing that talent, especially when you're in a small market like Detroit. This is the way that you get that you get to where, say, like the Milwaukee Bucks are, where, say, because they had to like take a shot on guys like Chris Middleton, who wasn't viewed super highly at that time either. So, these are the building blocks of how you get to winning in the future. First of all, I do want to say real quick, thank you so much to everyone that's tuning in. We do have a couple questions. One, did we get anyone else from Kamal? Thank you for tuning in, Kamal. We did not get anybody else. That is actually the other piece of the trade deadline I do want to talk about, and that is the trade that did not happen, which is, of course, Jeremy Grant. I do want to ask you, King, what do you think of the fact that Jeremy Grant is still here? I know a lot of people are upset. I personally, I mean, listen, a lot of the reports, and I actually recorded with Rob Beard and James Edwards III, like over the past couple weeks, and they both kind of told me that they're at about 50-50 of the trade actually happening. So I'm not really too surprised, but I'd love to know your thoughts, though. Where are you at with everything?
With the Jeremy Grant situation, like I said, I'm definitely not upset about it at all. Jeremy Grant with his contract in the Pistons situation is something that just didn't have to happen at the trade deadline. So I have no problems with that. Keep him around as a veteran with all of these kids that we got on this team, and let him continue to build with these guys. And like I said, just trading them away right now and not getting what you want to return, that's just doing moves just to do it.
Exactly.
I didn't want Troy to do that. He put his requirement out there and it wasn't met. So he retained him. And I that's what you do as a GM. You just make a move to do it. So I have no problems with it. Some people say that, with Jeremy Grant that it hinders Saddiq Bey. I think that's absolute baloney, simply because, when we were having a ball watching situation, at the beginning of the season, everybody was struggling. Nobody could knock down a shot. Jeremy was. So it causes these young guys to get comfortable giving him the ball because they don't want to, embarrass themselves or whatever you may have it. So, as far as him and Saddiq Bey, I think they can coexist, just fine. I just need Cade to get back, so we can keep that ball flowing and keep the ball out of Grant's hand as much. Even tonight, just watching the game tonight, he actually was looking for players to get the ball to. Yeah. So like I said, it's a different team right now at this point of the season. I just need these guys to play a consistent amount of games together so they can get a good feel for each other.
I'm glad you brought that up because people don't talk about that. These guys haven't had many games together. Like Cade Cunningham and Jeremy Grant, we can count on one, maybe two hands the amount of times they've actually been on the court together. And in addition, like when you have all these guys that are learning to play together, naturally you're going to have some difficulties. And I know Jeremy Grant has a little bit of a reputation in Pistons Twitter to be a ball stopper. And I definitely understand from time to time that he can definitely get ISO heavy when he's just trying to create and, bring the Pistons back into the game. However, it's exactly what you said of, he it's not like he's not looking to get his teammates open. You know what I mean? Like he's a better passer than people give credit. His assist numbers never look that great because guys can't hit shots. Like sometimes it just comes down to that, man.
I was thinking that earlier, man, because, just for the kid, Killian Hayes could easily have about 7-8 assists a game, but guys just never knock the shot down.
Yeah.
Nuts, man. So,
yeah.
You're absolutely right. Guys just can't knock the shots down, man. And it'll help. It'll help, when we have a little bit better flow in the offense. The thing with Marvin Bagley, man, the way that his contract is set up, I don't think he's going to be able to start as much as people want.
Yeah.
Simply because of the way it's structured.
Yeah, because I believe it's if he doesn't start like a certain amount of games, isn't it that like the Pistons can offer him $3 million less in a quantifying offer, so it almost just makes more sense from a cap standpoint to not really give him that offer? Is that kind of like what you're referring to?
Yeah, absolutely. So he'll be with the second unit mostly. I don't know if they're going to try to mix in some of his minutes with the starters, but as we add to the roster, I just think, it'll help everybody out because right now we're all over the place. The injuries coming out of the gate, then you got COVID, then you got more injuries, and it's just bad, So
yeah, exactly, man.
Man, it'll say this is after the All-Star break for the last part of the season. I just want to see these guys on the floor together, man. That's all.
I'm with you 100%. And Thank you to everyone that's tuning in live right now, by the way. Keep your questions coming. If you have any questions for myself or King over here, feel free to shoot them our way. Joshua Austin said the problem with keeping Grant is his value doesn't go up from now till the off season. I think the Pistons are going to extend him. And I think that's a fair point, is that, you know, his value this time next year will not be the same. However, I still think he garners a lot of value, say, for a team, for example, like the Chicago Bulls, who are going to be going into this playoffs against teams that got better at the deadline today, like the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers, which we'll get into. But, you know, so a team like that, like the Bulls now, like before today, they felt like a team that very well could make a case to run to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they still can. However, their road just got way harder, guys. And so sometimes you just need these teams to have the reason to be willing to part with certain guys. Like, obviously the Bulls don't want to part with Patrick Williams if they don't have to. However, if they get clobbered in the second round or first round of the playoffs, they're going to look at their team right now and realize they might be a Jeremy Grant piece away from being serious, you know, like a team like the Jazz as well. They're going to be in a better position to make a trade at the draft as well. And a lot of these teams, it's harder to add a guy like Jeremy Grant when you have all these things going on, whereas on draft day or in the summer, you have a little bit better idea of what you want to do going into that season, and more importantly, how you want to change your roster. So, right. So, you know, I think especially too with a lot of the deals that went down, I think the Sabonis Kings deal made it a little harder for the Pistons to get a Grant deal done. I think the Blazers, they overall, I was expecting more deals from them today, but the way that their deadline ended, I don't know about you, King, but I'm confused as to what's going on in Portland.
Portland has also been a franchise that's very bad. You know, they're very bad at making moves, and especially, you know, when it comes to trades and free agency, they've been terrible. I feel so bad for Dame Lillard for wasting so many years there. Mm-hmm. I feel like he probably won't finally move on until, you know, he's at a point where he's just not that productive anymore. So it's, you know, like I said, teams like Portland, Sacramento, some of these teams, these Washington teams, things like, you know, they are all similar in that same department. So, I just feel bad for Portland. I really do, especially Dame Lillard. Yeah, I really feel bad for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know about you. It just feels like the CJ McCollum trade was 3 years too late. Like, yes. It just feels like they really could have gotten a good piece for him a couple years ago. Whereas now you get Josh Hart and a couple picks for him. Man. Like you're just doing it just to free up the cap space. You're salary dumping your second core guy. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just not a good situation to be in whatsoever.
They just continue to fail to put the right pieces around this man, and I just don't get it. Another team that actually was disappointing was the Lakers.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna wait for buyouts. Buyouts? What?
Yeah, what player on the buyout market saying, you know what team I want to go to? The LA Lakers. They got it all together right now, King.
You stuck with Russ. Oh my God, it's just bad right now.
Yep. So I went to I think you were there too, but I went to the draft party at the LCA, and I was driving there with a couple of friends when the deal went down. And I remember when that deal happened, and we were in a McDonald's drive-thru, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, Russell Westbrook's a Laker," and I literally said, "Oh my gosh, that's one of the worst trades I've ever seen." And they were like, "What are you talking about? They're gonna go to the finals, dude."
Oh, man. I got a good friend that's a real big-time LeBron James fan, and he would always tell me, "Yeah, LeBron makes players better." I was like, "Well, let's see him make Russell Westbrook better."
Yeah, let's see him make Russell Westbrook a shooter. Let's see him do that.
And really, he's building apartment buildings with the bricks that I can't even call it bricks because a lot of times it don't even hit the rim, man. It is horrible. He looks, being a shell of himself is a compliment right now.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, he ain't throwing up bricks. He's throwing up cinder blocks, man. It's full on cinder block territory. All right. We got some more questions. How do you? Sorry if you answered this question already, but how do you guys see Bagley with the Pistons this year, maybe next year? I think the role to expect from him right now. Thank you, and again, keep the questions coming. I think right now to expect him to be a solid 6th man off the bench or one of those first guys off the bench in the rotation. The thing with Bagley, you can play him at the 4 or the 5. He's a guy that is kind of versatile in that way. So especially again with the size of the Pistons, I think you can play him plenty alongside Kelly Olynyk. I think you could play him alongside Beef Stew for a little bit, even if need be. I think especially if the Pistons continue to keep getting destroyed down in the interior, I think he's a guy that they're going to be calling in just to make sure that stops being the case as much. You feel the same, King? You think I'm right on that track?
Absolutely. And trust me, there will be times where they're going to have to call him in.
Yes,
All season, we've been getting destroyed. So,
yeah.
Stu just cannot do it by himself. Like I say, he's undersized, but he's not super athletic. So,
yeah. Well, the other thing, too, when he tries to, he gets in foul trouble so easily, and then he's on the bench.
Oh, man, the refs tonight, man, good Lord. They just wouldn't give us, and they call every single foul in the book. But, it is usually foul trouble when he tries to be aggressive, try to block shots, try to play a little, physical down there. So, guys like Bagley having his length and his athleticism are going to help out a lot, but especially protecting the basket.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Another question. How high of a pick would a team give up for Grant on draft day? That's a good question. I don't really know if that's a trade that someone would make if they're in the lottery. I think that's something that you'd see from a team that's a piece away from taking that next step, right? I think one of the teams that you could see possibly like that's going to be in the lottery that would be desperate like that would be like the Wizards, because they're in a similar situation to Portland where they're trying to build around Bradley Beal over there. So I could see a team like that being desperate enough to make a trade like that, but I don't really think it's about like how high the pick is going to be. I just think it's how many picks or what exactly you give up in return. Right now, the price is 2 first-round picks. I'd imagine he'd take a first-round pick and a player who used to be a first-round pick. I'm sure he'd do something like that, but I think it's more so about the quantity and not necessarily where the pick is. You know what I'm saying?
Totally agree.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's keep getting into more of the stuff. Speaking of the Wizards, they made a trade that when that crossed my timeline, I had to scratch my head for a second because at first I was like, oh, well, the Mavericks got off Kristaps' contract, and then it was like, oh, they added 2 bad contracts in return. Spencer Dinwiddie and Bertans. What are the Mavericks thinking, bro?
Where are they getting these GMs, man? Right? Then on top, like I said, from the contract standpoint, it just didn't make sense. But then, it's like, okay, this is not talent based. We talking about 2 injury-prone guys, Witty and Chris Snaps, Chris Snaps can only I call him Chris Snap. He can only sit on the bench and wear fancy clothes and look nice because he be out there on the court for you. So, these franchises are horrible. And I'm telling Pistons fans, you don't realize how fortunate you are right now because you used to be that team. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Do boneheaded things like this. And like I said, Troy was not having any of it. So we really don't realize how good we got it right now because we could really, really be bad right now.
Oh, my goodness. Absolutely. 100%. And it's like what Tim Legler said on ESPN today. He after the trade went down, he's like, yeah, they call him the unicorn because of how unique he is, but they also call him the unicorn because you barely ever see him.
Yeah.
He's never available.
He's elusive. Oh, man.
Exactly.
That is perfect. I'm getting a headache thinking about it. I really am. I'm mad for some of these fan bases, man. I really do. Yeah.
Because I that kind of transitions into the other trade that was kind of head scratching at first, which was the Kings Kings Pacers trade where they brought in Domantas Sabonis. Now, here's the thing. I made a TikTok right after it came out, and I called it one of the worst trades ever. Now, it's not because of the player that the Kings got back in return. I want to make that known. Domantas Sabonis can hoop.
Yeah,
and
can hoop.
Yeah, and he put up a double-double in his first game in Sacramento. I actually watched a little bit of it. Listen, Domantas Sabonis, he can play. However, I don't know about you, King, but when I saw that trade, it gave me flashbacks to when the Pistons traded for Blake Griffin because it was because it was what we gave up and what we were committing to. Because here's the thing, I was talking about this with someone last night. It's like, listen, the Kings floor and the ceiling is so close together. If it was a building, you'd have to army crawl to get through. You can't stand up. It's not
just from, like I said, just the deal itself. I'm like, what? Why? You know, so you're not going to win with, like I said, I like Sabonis. The first game was cute, new energy, you know, new team. Everybody was, you know, we've seen that before. Ask Blake Griffin. But
yeah, they went on a winning streak when he came to Detroit. Right. I remember that.
Right. It's going to look good at first.
Yeah.
Then, once that Sacramento way started to hit Sabonis, this thing is going to fall flat on his face, man.
Yeah, it's something about the catering over there, man, that Sacramento way.
And you know what? As far as, you know, for Tyrese, man, I mean, not Tyrese, Halliburton.
Yeah, it's Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, Tyler. I'm thinking about another trade I seen earlier.
Oh yeah, you're good, man. Yeah, you're good.
But yeah, Halliburton. You know, he was in tears. They say, you know, upset, but he's going to realize that he really was done a service by getting out of Sacramento.
Yeah,
he really was done a service by getting out of there, because that is a horrible franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only that, but also to not just get to go from Sacramento, where they don't really have consistency in the front office, they don't really have consistency in the coaching spot. They have an owner that openly advocated and wondered why teams wouldn't cherry pick in NBA games. To Rick Carlisle and the Pacers organization, which, say what you will about the Pacers, I know they haven't been the most competitive since, you know, 2005. I know they made the Eastern Conference Finals one time with Paul George, and but they're always good. You know what I mean? Like, this year's probably the first time they've been bad in a while, because otherwise, like, most nights they compete. You know what I mean?
I kind of feel like it's to a fault, though.
It is to a fault.
By them just being good all the time, you know, it never puts them in a great draft position, but also you never get anywhere. They're just stuck at this. I feel like the Kings are about to turn into that just by this trade. You know? So it's, you know, like I said, they got an opportunity. Indiana has an opportunity to build this thing and start it out right. You got a hell of a talent, a 21-year-old kid in Halliburton. That's, you know, something that can help you out tremendously. You obviously got, you know, a rookie in this year that's going to also help in the future. So, you know, they got an opportunity over there. I just think the Kings are turning into what Indiana has been.
Yeah.
They're just going to be stuck there. So
yeah,
I didn't want the Pistons. That's why I didn't want the Pistons to do any of that crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to be the team trying to push fast forward, and then you really, you're not going to, you know, excel, but at the same time, you're really not getting good draft position.
Exactly.
I don't want to be that again.
Yeah, and could we have traded for a guy like Miles Turner? Perhaps. Could we have traded for a guy like Sabonis? Perhaps. Could we have done a lot of these things? Sure. But to your point, it's the exact same thing of, guys, we are still, like, as good as things have been, as good of a job as things have been done so far. We got Cade Cunningham. You know, when we got the number 1 pick, that was the best moment I've had since the Pistons were winning basketball games or were in the playoffs winning championships, man, you know. But the thing is even though that felt like we won, like we got a ring, in reality, we're still in the beginning of this. Like, you're not gonna, yeah. Yeah, like, if like the moves that you guys are wanting us to make right now, which, like, don't get me wrong, as a fan, absolutely I want to see those guys go out and make a fun move. However, it's all about blossoming at the right time. I mean, look at what Chicago did. They put together the pieces last year, they built the core around Vucevic and Zach LaVine. This year, they blossom at the right time. They go get DeMar DeRozan. They go get Lonzo Ball. They go get Alex Caruso.
Also, things like Phoenix, man.
Exactly.
Phoenix was laughing stock for a long time, but like I said, once they went ahead and they developed what they had and they brought in veterans like Chris Paul and them, it took them where they wanted to go. So, we're at stage one right now. This is the first year. This is development. We're at stage one. There's no reason for us to start trying to rush things ahead when we don't need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of cashing in and going for crazy trades, the Philadelphia 76ers made the move of the year, the move that shook the deadline. I can't think of a move that was this big. Like, the last time I can think of is like when DeMarcus Cousins was traded to New Orleans, or something like even bigger, like when Carmelo Anthony was traded to the Knicks. It feels like that scale. James Harden being traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Philadelphia 76ers. When that happened, my jaw hit the floor. Even though all the signs were pointing towards a breakup in Brooklyn, I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, it works so well for both teams.
Yeah,
it
does.
The Ben Simmons saga, for a minute, a lot of the fans wanted Ben Simmons here. And like I said, Ben Simmons got traded to a team where he needs to be. It's the proper type of team for him. So, like I said, when you look at Philadelphia, especially when they were in the playoffs, they needed that guy like James Harden. So they have that now, and it's going to make things a lot more interesting. My only thing is I worry about them at the center position. I really do, because you give up Drummond. Embiid is also a guy that has his health issues. So he goes down, you're kind of in a tough situation over in Philly.
Yeah.
So it's they taking this shot. I don't blame them for doing it. Hey, do it. They really need to manage those guys and make sure that try to keep them healthy. That's your only chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to be able to add someone in the buyout market. I would imagine. I know DeAndre Jordan's kind of been in a weird situation. They were looking to maybe trade him. If he gets bought out, I could see him going to Philly. You never really know who's going to be available in the buyout market. But I know Philly's probably going to be a contender for those guys. I know Milwaukee, Phoenix, any team that is in contention right now is going to be a team that's going to be able to get someone in the buyout market. But I to your point, it is such a good trade for both sides, because not only does this make Philly a serious contender, like this team could be finals ready. The Nets, it's not like they're not a contender now either. Like, if Ben Simmons comes in and is the player that we know he can be, and Kevin Durant is healthy, and now you got Seth Curry. They kept Patty Mills, by the way. They now add Andre Drummond, which listen, we're Pistons fans. We'll make fun of Andre Drummond because of the days that some of the hell he put us through. But in all seriousness, like, Andre Drummond gives them some real depth at the big man position, and they were needing a big. So it addresses multiple needs. And now in the summer, I mean, they're not going to be keeping those 2 first-round picks. They're going to do something with that in the summer. So if I'm a Nets fan, this is the best possible way that you lose a superstar is by this,
Yeah, like I said, like I said, it just helped them in the depth department tremendously, man. And like I said, even with us Pistons fans, this is the type of situation where Drummond needed.
Yeah.
We had Drummond here trying to make him the guy, so that is not what he should have been in the first place. Only the Pistons do weird stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The old Pistons, not now.
Yeah.
The old Pistons.
The Pistons of the last decade.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A much better situation, but also is going to be key over there. Him and LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah.
It's going to be nice over there.
Still got Claxton too. They didn't have to get rid of Claxton.
I thought we were going to get Claxton.
I thought we were too.
Really close, because they, the two first round pick situation. When I seen that, I said, "Oh,
literally." I was like, that was the connection I made in my head. I was like, Troy Weaver said he wanted 2 first round picks. I was like, that's where my head went too, man. You and I were in the same spot.
So they're in a good spot, man. Really good spot.
Yeah, real quick, our guy Easy is in the chat. Shout out to Easy, by the way. It's Easy, baby. Subscribe to him. Check him out on Twitter. Who won the trade? If you had to pick, if you had to pick, who won? Nets or Sixers?
It's 50-50 split to me.
It's like 50-50 split to you?
Me. Yeah, I don't see either of the teams edging each other out because, like I said, they I mean, just across the board, it just helps both squads. It's the perfect trade.
Yeah.
It really is a trade.
Here's what I will say. In the interim, for right now, the Philadelphia 76ers won because they did get the best player in the trade. And Philly did accomplish what they wanted to out of a Ben Simmons trade, which was get a star in return, right? Daryl Morey was hell-bent on getting James Harden in a Philadelphia 76ers uniform, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. If they don't win, this can blow up in their faces incredibly quickly. And I don't know about you, this feels like the championship contender with the quickest expiration date on it, because you never know when James Harden and Joel Embiid's health is just no longer going to cooperate.
Like I said, this is literally just shooting all your shots, all your rocks, one bag, man. It's really just right now. This is it. Mm-hmm. You got you bring over Harden. It helps with the firepower you're gonna need because you go up and face a Milwaukee Bucks team. You know what I'm saying? You need more than just Embiid. Obviously, so it helped them out a lot, and then when you look at the trade with Harden, he's the better player in the trade, but then at the same time, Brooklyn on the other end got more, and as far as adding depth, some really solid depth to what they needed over there. So like I said, it's just a good trade on both sides to me.
Yeah, I agree. And with the Nets, I know reports suggested that Kyrie Irving was all for him getting out the door. And it sounds like they did not have the best relationship while they were teammates. I know Kyrie sent that really weird cryptic tweet calling the media the puppet masters and all that kind of stuff. I was like, okay, Kyrie, whatever, bro. But, I mean, listen, when there's smoke, there's fire. And obviously, I think James Harden, if Kyrie Irving was vaccinated, I have a hard time seeing James Harden not in a Brooklyn Nets uniform.
Oh, yeah. Total different situation.
Yeah, and not to get into, obviously don't want to get into vaccinations and COVID and all that kind of stuff. However, it is the thing that's keeping him from being a full-time player on the team right now. So, right. But that is the interesting thing, though. What if the mandate's lifted by the time the playoffs come around, and then all of a sudden you can have Kyrie Irving full-time with Ben Simmons? That's a point where that team looks a little more serious as far as a contender. Because, listen, Kevin Durant at his peak, it's Kevin freaking Durant, man.
Look like he might have an opportunity when you look at it. Based over a couple of years with the history of how it's been going around that time during the playoffs, and plus with all the people that's getting it right now, you might be in a better situation. You just might be lucky enough. So we'll see what happens with that situation.
For sure. So overall, King, if you had to name your biggest deadline winners and then your biggest deadline losers, who would you say?
Biggest deadline winners? Hold on, give me 1 second.
You're good, man.
My son just stepped in.
Oh, we got an angry Piston fan here, ready to rant. Oh boy. All right, looking at the chat and everything. Joshua said Seth Curry and Andre Drummond is a huge get for the Nets and will pay huge dividends. I couldn't agree more, man. I think it's a great deal for them. I think it's a good all around situation for them. Just 1 second. Hi, Dad. I'm live on YouTube right now. Can I call you back in a minute? All right. Love you, Dad. Bye. Anyway, someone said Indiana Pacers was the winner and the Los Angeles Pacers are the losers.
Wow. Wow.
Josh, I like that. I like that analogy there. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think to me, I think the Indiana Pacers are probably my winners too. Just to make Miles Turner want to be a Pacer again, but just off of one trade that you made, that's a pretty good move, and they set themselves up pretty well for the future. And then I would say biggest losers have got to be the Portland Trailblazers because they haven't made a single move yet where I've gone, this is a good thing for the Portland Trailblazers.
Like I said, and then just like you said it beautifully earlier, 3 years too late. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
With McCollum, it's just, yeah, you're absolutely right. You're very accurate. If you want to go with Portland, or if you want to go with Washington, or Dallas, or whatever you want to do. But yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, for sure. And, at the end of the day, I mean, obviously there's some other winners. There's other losers too. It's hard to not call the Nets or the Sixers winners. I mean, that's obvious. It's hard to not call the Dallas Mavericks a loser either. That's pretty obvious as well. But I think the Lakers are probably, if I had to pick the other biggest loser just solely off of trade deadline, if you're just going off of who didn't do anything, I think they're a team that has to be considered a loser as well.
Goodness.
Yeah, I'd also argue the Bulls were a loser too because I think their chances in the Eastern Conference today are worsened based off of their inactivity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought they should have been just a little bit more aggressive, man. Not even just a little bit more. They should have been aggressive, period, because they did not. So, like I said, the Bulls are in a better situation. The Lakers just terrible. You know what I'm saying? They're terrible, man. So, but the Bulls were in a better situation. I just wanted them to be a little bit more aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, do you think there is a chance that the Lakers are going to be able to turn this around in the next couple of years? Do you think LeBron's going to ever contend for another ring again?
No, unless he just go. No. I just really don't even think it's going to happen. I think he is done winning championships in this league.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we talk about the Lakers. We talk about some of these teams. We talk about the East. Watch out for Golden State.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Golden State, man. Watch out for Golden State, man. Not being talked about enough, to be honest. Y'all know they're good, but they're not being talked about enough, man.
Same with Phoenix, man. Like I've never seen a team that has made it to the finals respected less than the Phoenix Suns. They have as good of a record on the road as they do at home.
Yeah, Phoenix, man. And also shout out to Reggie Jackson and Luke Kennard.
Yeah. Yeah, low-key winner at the deadline, too, getting Norman Powell and Robert Covington to go along with Kawhi and Paul George next year. And they kept Marcus Morris.
Yep.
Like, how? Like, unreal, man.
That is, like I said, it's amazing, man. Like I said, the Clippers just, this is a team that I used to also laugh at in the past, but they actually get it now. It's fun to watch. And the Lakers just don't. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to throw it to one comment up here earlier before we start wrapping up here in a little bit. First of all, again, King, thank you so much for being here. If people don't know, or if people haven't seen your content, people don't follow you, there is a link to your channel down below. So please be sure to go subscribe to my guy, King. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you so much for doing this. And his social media handles down below too, so be sure to go give him a follow. You can subscribe here as well. I have a link to some of my work. I'm a writer for Woodward Sports, so go check out some of the stuff I do there. And before we begin to wrap this up, I saw Easy post. I want y'all to debate about Dwayne Casey. And I know when I said Dwayne Casey's name earlier, I saw your face drop a little bit. I've seen I've seen you call for his job a time or two. I've seen you say I've had enough a couple times. Where as where it stands today, what is your opinion of Dwayne Casey, and what do you think about his future in Detroit?
I let him live simply because
I let him live. I just love that.
I look more at the situation. You know what I'm saying? This man is in his plus 60s, and he's literally dealing with a bunch of teens and very, very young adults. So
second oldest coach in the league.
Yeah, man. So it's it's obviously a tough task to take on when you're going through this type of process. So I got sympathy for him.
Mm-hmm.
But he does do things at times that drives me absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
One of them took you long enough to put Killian Hayes on the bench.
Yeah.
And when we drafted him, I really didn't think he was going to start. To be honest, I thought they would start him on the bench.
Yeah.
Simply because of the way that he was drafted. You know what I'm saying? The player that he was, where he was coming from, and how old he was. I do have my issues. I still feel like Corey Joseph gets too much time on the floor. Drives me absolutely crazy. I would rather watch Saban Lee than Corey Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
But, some of the things he does, it irritates me at times, but he also does a lot of good things. So, right now I'm right in the middle with Dwayne Casey. I just want to see him have an opportunity when the talent does start to, pick up. And once we start to add more pieces, and Pistons actually started to win some games, I would rather judge him then, because this situation is just a little unfair to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the right way to go about it. Again, not to keep plugging stuff, but I did write an article on Woodward Sports that I titled "Dwayne Casey is the perfect coach for the Detroit Pistons." And when I say that, I think Dwayne Casey is the perfect coach for where we're at right now. And
right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that I'm not saying when it's time to win a ring that he's going to be the guy in the coach's seat. I think if anything, Rob Beard alluded to this on one of the Woodward Sports shows earlier this week. I think the odds are in the next couple of years you could see Dwayne Casey in a front office role in Detroit as being an advisor, as someone like kind of similar like the John Beeline role, helping with like player development and doing things like that. Because I think that's just where he's going to be. I mean, he's an older guy. When it's time for us to be in the playoffs, he might not be on the coach's. He might not be in the coach's seat just because of his age, and that's okay. But for developing players, for building a culture and teaching guys through difficult situations, I mean, his track record speaks for itself, guys. Look at what Toronto's at right now. You can't tell me Dwayne Casey didn't have anything to do with that, right?
Yeah.
And Nick Nurse, people always compare those guys. Listen, Nick Nurse does everything Dwayne Casey does. They run the same system. They do the same thing. And are you telling me that if Dwayne Casey didn't have LeBron in the other conference, and if he had Kawhi Leonard on his team, that he wouldn't have a championship ring on his finger? Come on now. That's where I'm at.
You got to be serious with that, because like I said, LeBron, you got guys like, Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan disappearing in the playoffs and things like that. Yeah, I mean, come on. You got LeBron James on the other end, so it's kind of unfair. I feel like you got, I want to say Rick Carlisle did the building, built the culture and everything else, and they move on and give it to another guy. So, like I said, once we get these winning pieces, it's going to be interesting to see what he really could do. But the time is ticking, because, like I said, he's a much older guy, much older man. So I can definitely agree. He probably would be able to move into something else. I don't see him 68, 69 years old, still out there on the court yelling. Yeah. So it's, I agree. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know he's not the most popular amongst Pistons Twitter. I'm not saying I don't question some of his calls sometimes. I know the one that I still scratch my head at sometimes is earlier in the year when Cade was inbounding the ball at the end of the game. It was like we had 0.7 seconds. Now here's the thing. Someone brought up a good point. We were trying to get it to Frank Jackson because he's our quickest shooter, he's our quickest guy on the court. When you only have 0.7 seconds left, Cade probably wasn't getting that shot up in time. That is one thing. However, when in that game, Cade was red hot. And when a guy is red hot, you don't want him passing to the guy that's going to shoot. You want him shooting the ball, right?
And like I said, he can help you get to where you was at. And then on top of that, in this type of season, give your guy the ball, man. Give him the ball. These are perfect opportunities to get that experience.
Which, to his credit, since then he has. To his credit, he has since then.
He has. Yeah, you're right. But he's been much better lately. I can say that.
Yeah,
he's been much better lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Killian Hayes. I'm glad you brought him up, because I think the bench role has been better for him. Now, obviously, past couple games, it's been a little bit of a different story. He struggled in Dallas. He had 8 turnovers tonight. He fouled out in 13 minutes of game action. Never love to see that, but I mean, you bring up his age again. Killian Hayes is a young guy, and even though he did play professional ball in France, that still isn't quite the same thing as being in college in the USA. You know what I'm saying? So it's not the same system. So
that's like AAU compared to college, man.
yeah,
it's not the same at all. You got guys over there playing in professional sports at 15. You know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's not the same.
Yeah, you're playing against heavy smokers and drinkers. You know, like they're like former NBA guys that used to come play here in real time. You know, I'm not ready to say yet that Killian is a bust or anything. I think anyone saying that kind of stuff, I think it's too early personally. Yeah. But
like I said, I just want to do him a service and give him the time he's required, because like I said, he wasn't drafted to come out right away and be a premier scorer. Mm-hmm. That's not drafted for, so I just want to give him his due diligence. But we know this fan base, and it's like now, I want it right now.
Yep.
Well, I get where it's coming from. It gets annoying, but yeah. I get where it's coming from. Yeah,
for sure, exactly. Wally Wave says, you think Cade will be ready for All-Star Weekend? I expect so. I don't listen. Cade, I think he might play tomorrow night. I think they were sitting him out tonight because it's 2 games on a back-to-back. I think they knew Memphis was probably not going to be a win, so they're probably looking at, all right, Charlotte's a little bit of an easier game. I can expect Cade Cunningham more than likely will be in the lineup tomorrow night. That's just what my gut's at.
He was doing karate roundhouse kicks with Jeremy Grant, in the clip I seen on Instagram. He's fine. He'll be fine. I honestly do believe he's going to play tomorrow, because they downgraded him to doubtful, Mm-hmm. But I think tomorrow you'll probably see him play.
Yeah, exactly. And also they wouldn't have announced him for the skills challenge in the midst of his injury if they weren't thinking that he was going to be able to make it. So that's just where I'm at with it. I think he probably could have played in Dallas on Tuesday, but in all reality, I think it's just an injury that Detroit doesn't want to mess with, because they already had another guard last year that dealt with plenty of hip issues. And when your hip's messed up, man, that's not something you want to be playing with.
No, not at all. And you look at the situation where when Cade injured his ankle, how careful he was with that situation. Just the same thing.
Yep.
With it.
Exactly.
Man, that's all it is.
Yeah, exactly. Now, King, before we wrap it up, again, you are my guy. Thank you so much for being here. I do got to ask you, because I think, now that the trade deadline's behind us, now that we're 2/3 of the way through the season, I think it's time we start talking more about the draft and what we want Detroit to do this summer. Because now we can start having a little more fun, right? We can start fantasizing what some of these guys can do in a Pistons uniform. If you were Troy Weaver, if you were that brilliant man with that dope office up in the Henry Ford Health Center, and you have the phone to call in on draft night, you get the pick of anyone you want. Who's EverythingKing taking for the Detroit Pistons?
Currently, right now, at this point in the college basketball season.
Oh, man. It's tough, man. It's tough.
I'm taking Jabari Smith, man.
Okay.
I'm taking Jabari Smith simply because I've been watching a couple of the games, and he's showing up in the biggest moments in those games.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, just his skill set alone, man. The dude is, man. I would take Jabari Smith. I'm a big Banchero fan too, but Jabari's shooting is crazy, man. I would definitely take Jabari.
Mm-hmm. I think he has the highest floor of any of the guys coming out. Like, I think he's, of the 3 guys, Chet, Paulo, and Jabari, I think Jabari's the most surefire that you're going to get a guy ready to go day one player, because he can do so many different things, and he does show up when it matters most, and they're winning games too.
Yeah, and the thing with Chet, man, it's not just so much of his weight. Chet is not a center in this league. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to play at all in this league. So, it's based on the position. It's obviously between Banchero and Smith for me.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like Ivy. Mm-hmm. It's not what we need the most right now.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going with one of those 2.
Yeah, I really like all 3 of those guys. For me, my ranking, I personally have Chet. He's probably going to go number 1. I mean, I just think with the ceiling that he has, I think with what he can be, I think he's just the obvious number one pick in that way. I mean, if Jabari has the highest floor, Chet has the highest ceiling in this class. He does have remnants of Kevin Durant's game a little bit, but to me, I see kind of more like Evan Mobley with better ball handling skills. I think he in a better jump shot too, which Evan Mobley has those already, but I think Chet Holmgren, he can. I'm not too worried about the weight either, because I think if you look at especially if you look at 4s and 5s in this game compared to where they were, guys are a lot smaller these days than they were. Like Jared Allen's like one of the best centers in the league, interior defensive wise. We're not thinking of him as a big muscly guy. Rudy Gobert, he doesn't have the biggest cannons on his arms. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Chet's not going to be that skinny forever. Like I said, we watch guys like Giannis walk in the league as a twig, man, and look at him now. You know what I'm saying? You got time to work on your body. So, like I said, he's just, with his skill set, he's just not playing center in this league. You know what I'm saying? This unicorn for real. He is, dribbling, shooting. He's tall, but he's also athletic. That's something that you don't see too often with guys that tall. So, and he's wiry for his size, even though he's very wiry. So, like I said, with all three of them, to be honest, I wouldn't be upset.
Same here. At all. The reason why I have Paolo at 3rd for me, it comes down to this. I look at his scouting reports, and with Chet and Jabari, they both play the defensive end really well.
Yeah.
And Paolo has the intangibles to be a good defender. However, if you look up every scouting report for Paolo, the number one thing, I don't even care about the arrest. I don't even care about listen, he's a college kid. Kids are going to do dumb things. It is what it is, right? But when the number one thing about him is they question if he's always interested on the defensive end, and I have a Detroit Pistons background where defense is like the core of what we do.
And what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and what we're trying to build, and that's how we win, right? Is like when we've won, we've been great on the defensive end. The guys the teams that win championships, we always look at how much of an offensive firehouse they were. Milwaukee on the defensive end last year was suffocating. You know? So for me, when I'm looking at these guys, I want to know that I'm going to get the guy that's going to play both ends of the floor. And right now I just don't know that with Paolo. You know what I mean?
I also worry about this sweat thing. You know what I'm saying? This body sweat thing is kind of crazy because, like I said, it seems like Duke has figured a little thing out, but NBA games are longer. Season is longer. So a longer grind, harder grind. I just don't know, man. I don't know when it comes to that situation either. You look at a guy like Jabari Smith, like I said, he's not the a big time defender. But just for what he offers, man, that's why I said I would have to go with him at that pick, man. I would just have to. Yeah,
absolutely. And the good news is, obviously we're hoping to get the number one pick again. The odds of that happening are pretty low, but at least getting in the top 3, I think, obviously that's, if we can at least get in there, even top 5, like we'll be happy, because at the end of the day, whoever we get to draft up in that, the top 4, those right now it looks like it's kind of like similar to last year's draft where there's the top 3 guys and then there's a little bit of a drop off at 4 and it gets a little more significant from there. However, I think this year's draft class, wherever we get to end up, I don't think there's as much pressure for us to land number 1 this year because of the fact that we did get Cade Cunningham. I think that gives us a little bit more luxury of whatever talent we get to add to this team. It's going to be a good thing at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, like we can simply just draft for fit. We can draft for, so, I think Orlando's probably going to end up getting that top spot this year. Orlando's also a team that's very, very similar to us right now. As far as the process goes, man.
Yeah, we're a year ahead of them right now in the process. Like, they're right now where we're at last year. They kind of gave up on the Vucci gang, like trying to win with that. Yeah, right. So don't count out Jalen Suggs so quickly too. By the way, he can play. I know he hasn't been so great so far, but he's not a scrub,
Yeah.
But speaking of not being a scrub, King, you are by far the opposite of that. Thank you so much for being here, man. Please, let's do this again, dude. This is a blast, man.
Yeah, man. Like I said, especially after games and things like that, I'm available. You know what I'm saying? Just hit me up.
Yeah.
Ahead of time like you did, man. And I can move some things around in my schedule and make sure I'm there.
Yeah.
But this was absolutely a blast.
Dude, we can make this a little bit of a regular thing. Like whenever things go down, we can do some state of the Pistons addresses over here, dude. We can make it happen, man.
Yeah, like I said, man, we can swing it back and forth. But when I am live streaming, I'll shoot you some invites.
Yeah.
Kick it around, see what you're doing, man. And
yeah.
Get you in, because when I do a lot of live streams, usually I wait to the last minute. I'm gonna start doing them a little bit more ahead of time so I can get guys like you on, man. I enjoy good conversation when it comes to our team. You know?
Me too, man. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. And if you're looking for good conversation about our teams, King's channel is a great place to be. His Twitter is a great place to be. His handle's right under him, and also the link for his channel's down in the description below. Be sure to subscribe here at From Half Court as well. Got a lot of basketball content that comes through here. A lot of podcasts and videos and writing and all that kind of stuff. I'm just like King, man. I'm just a basketball fan. I'm just a sports fan, and I just love talking hoops. So any chance I get, I love it. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for being here, and we will catch you next time from Half Court. Be sure to subscribe. And then the